Should you work for free is what we're discussing today on the Working Audio Tools podcast. Welcome back. My name's Ed Thorne. I'm based in London, and my co-host is Paul Third, based up in a very small village in Scotland. But that doesn't stop him from reaching around the entire globe. There's some exciting stuff coming on your Mixed Phones channel, man. So yeah, if anyone's not subscribed, check it out. Mixed Phones with Emma Chelik. They're onto the headphone industry big time. A lot of things happening there, which is exciting for you and everyone else who gets to follow in your coattails, which includes me. So that's good. So should we work for free? I've had a bit of a journey. I came from obviously charging good money for sound and playing drums, and I didn't fancy working for free when I started doing this. However, I feel like a sustained period of my mixing career not moving at the pace I would like has humbled me into submission, into relenting that I think I do need to start doing some groundwork, as we've discussed already in the last few episodes, with artists, and either finding a vessel or just offering some kind of one track for free and then move on from there. My concern is, though, that even talking about this might possibly upset current clients who have paid and come back to pay. That's where it gets sticky for me. What are your thoughts?
For free, right? Working for free. This is something that I've always kind of been against for a long time, because I always feel that you should be valued for your experience and your skill. And, I went to uni and, I've got a degree and I've been working at this for over a decade and stuff. And, I should value, what I'm worth. However, what we have been, speaking a lot about recently is basically the difficulty of trying to get clients through the door. It's very, very hard. And I think what's funny is that we have kind of been in this place, especially Ed, where we have went down the avenues of spending money on advertising and marketing and Facebook ads and Instagram ads. So you're investing in yourself to get potential clients, when really, in most cases, all you have to do is reach out to somebody that you think's got a bit of potential that you'd like to work with, offer them a free gig, and then hopefully if it goes well, then you can get a paid gig out of it. So, it's basically your advertising. For me, your advertising is doing a free gig. That's how I see it now, to make things, a little bit easier for me, so I don't feel like I'm kind of conning myself out of money and I'm devaluing myself. How do you feel about that aspect of it, seeing a free gig almost like an investment into marketing?
Yeah, what I learned from my social media marketing campaign, where I've spent about £1,000. Admittedly, I didn't pursue it as long as I intended. I intended to do it for 3 months. But as we discussed, actually it was off air because we ended up deleting that part of the podcast. I felt like I was cheapening myself, offering £100 mixes, almost to the point where I would rather do it for free than be valued as low as £100. So what I realized was that was basically, £1,000 is 2 or 3 days on a day rate doing live sound. And if a mix takes me a day, that's cost me 3 days. What you can't get by targeting one specific act or producer is broadband awareness of your brand. I can't quantify how many more people know about me after that marketing campaign than did before. That's not a metric we can really keep an eye on. You can keep an eye on unique viewers and stuff, but I think if you find an artist that you genuinely believe in, and they are out there, there's millions of them. And if you can break into one who don't necessarily have a set team, that's what I've come up against. People who have their teams, as we discussed with Liam last week, people who have the guy who's recording, producing, mixing, and some cases mastering as well. I can do all that. Maybe not the production. I don't consider myself a producer, but the recording, mixing, and mastering, I can do. But it's exactly what part of that you want to push. Do you want to be giving away free studio time, free mixing time, and mastering time, and all of those skills? Or do you want to gatekeep some of them and just give away one of those services? Like, in your case, for example, do you want to produce and record a track but charge for the mix? Or do you want to charge for the production and then do the mix for free? Or do you want, as you've offered, I think, do you want to do the whole thing for free? I think there's merits to both. I'm with you in terms of I don't like the idea of completely devaluing yourself, but I think that really comes down to how the potential client reacts to that. You know, you get a sense whether people are going to be grateful or not for these things.
Totally.
Some people won't be, so maybe proceed with caution, but other people will genuinely be into it and you'll get a rapport going. And those are your people. Those are people you can grow with. That's your crowd and they're worth investing in. And if you just do it once, I'm not saying, do 10 mixes for someone because then they're just going to release an album for free.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Do one track, see where it goes, move on to 10 different artists. Okay, you might have wasted 10 days worth of work if nothing comes off it. If one thing comes off it, great. You might find that people are willing to give you some money for what you've done, because they really appreciate what you've done and how you've gone about it. Or it might be, I've offered someone, right, I'll do the first track for free. Sorry, I'll do you a mix. And then if you like it, let's do the whole album, but that track will be free. And that's something in consideration at the moment, so.
Okay. Now, one thing that has really kind of stuck in my brain ever since we've had this conversation was when Nicholas De Lorenzo, who is our new resident guest, I don't know when Nick will be back on, but we could be 4 or 5 weeks' time. I don't know when. Depends on the schedules. But when he was talking a couple of weeks ago about just being seen working and the difference of being kind of advertising yourself, actually working on projects compared to the difference of being seen just pure out and out advertising. So for me, I am just now, I've got, 4 in the bag and another 2 that I've had to delay because I'm having to manage my time. So I've got 4 projects right now that I've agreed to. They're all female artists, right? All Scottish artists. And they're going to get a full release, start to finish, recording, production, mixing and mastering, right? And the way it works is I'm going to do them on like a Thursday. So even this podcast and mix phones have had to change. So my Monday nights have turned into this and then Emra right after. Like after this episode, I'm away to record with Emra right afterwards. So what that does is it leaves my Thursdays free. So I know that normally a Thursday night I would do mix phones. I would do the podcast Monday and the mix phones Thursday. So if I can cram my night on a Monday and get that stuff out of the way, then in my head I've got a Thursday night that I would be, working anyway. So instead of, just having a free night, I could keep that Thursday night and be productive with it, get people in, get people working, and then at the end of it, what people will notice with me if I, advertise it correctly, when it comes out and stuff, even if I document it and make videos about it, then what people will see in terms of when they see me on social media, they see me working on a physical release. They see me producing, recording, mixing, mastering. I know a lot of people just now who are utilising social media to document the whole process. Could just be, we're writing a song, producing it, tracking the vocals, putting a guitar on it. It could be like a funky instrument. Could be like they bring in a cajon or something like that. And like, again, here's us recording that, little reels, little snippets. And I think being able to be in sessions and documenting that on socials, for me, is the best advertising, where if you maximise the amount of social networking opportunities, or not, I wouldn't say networking, sorry, I'd say the social presentation opportunities where you can present yourself as an audio engineer. I think if you maximise all those opportunities within a free session, then I think you'll get more out of that than paying anybody on Instagram and Facebook, because what you're doing is constantly showing yourself working. Yes, it could be one free project, but you might get 10 reels out of it. You might get, 3-4 posts out of it. That's my idea. What do you think about that?
I think that's a very smart idea. Because, as you said, one project, you might get 10 reels, and even if you do 5 a week, that's 2 weeks worth of content out of one Thursday night, and there's a Thursday every week. So you're going to get a lot of content if you can be bothered editing all that. Yeah. That's where it's going to get time consuming for you. The other thing that is smart is the fact that you are, whatever you put out, whatever tracks, at some point you're going to get someone saying, Oh, that sounds good. Where did you record that? Oh,
Yep.
Paul Third. Someone else to another person, another artist will say, oh, that's a great mix. Who's mixed that? And someone else will say, oh, who's mastered that? I'm looking for a mastering engineer. Paul Third. So there's 3, not including any production that you do, 3 avenues for every song to advertise your services. So I think that's exactly what you need to do. And I'm really glad and really happy for you that you've landed on this idea and this decision and you're pushing forward for it. I think it's going to be wicked.
And as well, right, another point to make is that, see a paid client, right, they're going to see you as a service. So sometimes it could be difficult to, say to them, no, what I'd really appreciate it, maybe if you did like a wee reel or a post or something like it on your socials to kind of, show we're working and stuff. Some people don't like that. But if somebody's...
I don't think you can ask clients for that. I think the most you can do is ask a client for permission to use one of their tracks in one of your reels. Most of them are cool with it because it doesn't require them to do any work, but not all paying clients will want to do that. Some will want to keep the privacy. Some might be projects they need to keep behind closed doors for a while.
Correct. So that brings me on to the free side of it. If people are really, really appreciative of you giving out a free service of a free entire release, the most they could do is batter the shit out of their socials and tell people that you're working in a session with them and kind of be like, look, I'm helping you out so you can help me out. And so again, that could be more advertising opportunities where, as you just said there, and I was thinking the same about clients, it's you're at the behest of if the client wants to share a session, wants to let people know that they're working on a song, wants to get a snippet of blah, blah, blah. Some artists are not big on the whole social media thing. But, if you're getting a free whole release, the least I would think you would do would be, to scratch my back a little bit and, share me to your audience, which, as you said, people are going to be like, oh, that's interesting. I really like such and such. Did you hear that, Caitlin is recording, in Errol in Scotland? Really? Yeah. She's waiting to do a new release, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, oh, no, what? I've never heard of that. And it's just that word of mouth, that trickle. There's those skipping stones that you need that might just be the advertising that you need for people to talk enough. When if you do enough free sessions and you're able to manage it, I think the issue that I've got is that I need to be able to do it in a way where it's not consuming me, where I'm almost like...
I'm pretty sure your wife's not going to let you get to that point. But with that in mind, my concern is that you then get known as being... This is worst case scenario. I don't think this will happen. Worst case scenario, you get known as the guy that does a free session for new artists, and all of a sudden you get 100 new artists. Or heard you do a free session in it, and you've just done 100 free sessions, and none of these people are actually ever intending on coming back. So there's got to be some filtering, which you 100%. Mentioned with Nick that you were already doing by default. Proof that they're active.
Demos,
I had a guy,
all that stuff.
I had a guy randomly come out and he wanted a free production and recording, and the message had got through to him had been misinterpreted that I was offering the production. And I looked on his socials and he had nothing. I was like, yeah, he's not even tried to make a song before. He's just out for a free ride.
Yep. And it's all about the networking opportunities and thinking and being very choosy about who you go with. So the people that I've decided to go with are kind of already in the same camp. So there is, and again, I've not got an issue in promoting this. There's basically a camp that goes on there's quite a few camps, and I think it's called Sierra La Casa or something like that. And it's Kyle Faulkner from The View, and what they do is it's somewhere in Spain, can't remember where in Spain it is, but they go out in Spain and they have these songwriting camps where it's just for lots of like-minded artists to be around other like-minded artists, and they write songs, and Kyle's there, and Kyle will get certain people from certain bands that he knows. Carol Barrett from the Libertines was at one, and I think the next one they've got the lead guy from the Zootons, and there'd be the guy from Reverend and the Makers and stuff like that, right?
I think I know where you're going with this.
So all of these people go to these camps, and I have, luckily, the people that have reached out due to my good friend Billy Mitchell, he, put it out there. Paul, my good friend Paul's got a studio and he's kind of doing this kind of whole kind of free service for new Scottish artists. And 6 people that reached out were all from that group. So what happens is, when all of them are done, other people that they went to La Casa with are going to see that. And they're going to go, oh, that sounds really, really good. I want to work with him. And then from there, if I do my job right, and then again I get paid gigs after that, it just kind of becomes a bit of a conveyor belt, and I'm able to tap in to the network that they've got, to the point where, I then get to a point where I'm in my head, I'm at a stage where I'm going to have to get in touch with Kyle eventually, because again, Billy's basically Kyle's guitarist a lot of the times, and we know a lot of the same people. So I am going to have to reach out, and again, one time, I might need to fuck off to Spain and, go to a camp and stuff like that.
That's what I was going to say. That's an even better objective. Because yes, people will talk, but you know what things are like when the excitement of an event fades out after a couple of days. People get busy and distracted. You know what it's like. You meet people at trade shows. You follow up with some people. A lot of people promise that they're going to follow up with you. You hear back from very few of them, and you forget and don't bother chasing up some people yourself. The most effective way of optimizing that situation is to go to the camp and say to whoever's organizing it, I will record and mix everything you guys write this week. Put in some 20-hour days, record for 8 hours with all these artists after they've written songs. When they're writing songs, be mixing them. And at the end of every day, you can say, right, yesterday, you guys recorded this song, that's it mixed. You guys recorded this song, that's it mixed. And they might not be releasing them because a lot of this stuff's going to be demos to then go away and work with artists or producers or their own bands or for library music or for publishing purposes. But if all of a sudden this camp in Spain is putting out amazing sounding demos that publishers are like, where are you getting these demo recordings from? That's when people are like, oh yeah, there's this guy Paul who came along and just did a whole week's worth of recording and mixing. That's a genius idea.
I know.
That's got to be your next objective.
I know, but
in fact, I might even do you a favour here, right? Don't bother pissing around with shitty toilet bar gigs, right? Meeting random drunk people who aren't going to email you back. Just make sure to save up all those days you've said you were going to go to gigs between now and the end of the year, and just go away to Spain for a week if you can blag that.
Oh, I'm so gutted. I know what I thought you were going to say. Know what? As I support you that much, I'm going to pay for your plane tickets to go to Spain and go to this. Oh, you've broke my heart. Imagine trying to say that to Laura. Eh? Laura's like love. My wife is a sun worshipper, right? Like she looks foreign. Like when we go on holiday, people think that she's like one of their own is like going out with a tourist.
Tie it in. Family holiday, 2 birds with 1 stone. Just, you just won't be there with the family.
Family holiday. By the way, Daddy's not going to be there. Cool. No, but you're absolutely right. And again, it's something that I've been thinking about teetering the idea with Laura, but again, we have a lot of stuff going on. But look, you know what I'm like. I don't say stuff unless I've thought about it. So I have thought about it, and I know it's an avenue that I'm going to probably have to do, and I'm going to need to have that conversation where I say to Laura, remember how I said I was going to go to Nam? Maybe instead of going to Nam, I maybe go to La Casa. You know what I mean? Because it's better for business.
This is what I was thinking. This is getting a bit off topic, but I was planning today the next few trips I'm going to go on, and one of them was potentially Nam. And was it Nick who said this? No, we've chatted to Em about this, MSM, and he said, bro, you ain't getting gigs off mix engineers. It's all very well going to all these networking events, meeting loads of people at different events. No one's giving you work except the artists and the producers and the labels.
And there's never artists and producers normally there. I mean, when you go to NAMM and stuff, it's all people that watch us and stuff, and they're watching us to learn to do this. So they're not really people that's going to
we have our shit together.
I know, totally.
Hopefully, if you've watched this, you've gathered that we don't have a clue either.
Fucking edit that out, Jesus Christ. There's your perception ruined right there. But no, I think
everyone's winging it, mate. And if not, they're compensating for something.
But I think what's good is that, again, this is why I like to have these conversations, because already by just like, again, it's like if you think about mind mapping, which I've been doing a lot recently, just from that one aspect of a free gig, look at how many different things and opportunities it's branched out in. That to me is why I believe that when you're starting out, and loads of people have said it to us on this podcast, that doing stuff for free is okay, but I think the caveat to that is it's got to be calculated and it's got to be well thought out. I think that is the big difference for me.
DistroKid sponsor the Working Audio Tools podcast, and you can get 30% off your first year's subscription using the VIP link in the YouTube video description and podcast show notes. DistroKid makes distribution of your music easy with unlimited uploads, and you get to keep 100% of your royalties and earnings. Join over 1 million artists who rely on DistroKid to get their music into Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, and all other streaming platforms now and in the future. The new DistroKid app is available on iOS. Go and download it from the App Store now. From here, you can upload new releases. You can see your DistroKid earnings and withdraw these earnings. You can view and share your hyperfollow links. You can check your streaming statistics from Spotify and Apple, and even add and edit lyrics and song titles. So keep track of your releases on the move with the new DistroKid app, available on iOS. Download it from the App Store now. I really like the songwriting camp idea, and I've got a couple of contacts I'm going to reach out to because I know they've been on or host writing camps. I'm going to go down with my Apollo X4 Gen 2, maybe even turn up and swing a big dick with a bit of an analog chain. Oof. That could be fun. Yeah, be like, you want to record through a Neve and a Universal Audio U87? Yeah, I got you. Let's do this. Let's record. I can do 4 channels on that, acoustic guitars, vocals. I'll have that mix for you by the end of the day. Yeah, in fact, I'll have that mix for you after lunch. Yeah, because look, this is what I love about having these conversations, is that what we are doing is talking about working. I'm excited by that. Yeah, because we're talking about working. And this is what all our mentors say, is that you spend so much time talking about YouTube stuff and about gear, and not enough time talking about working and working with artists and working with producers and opening yourself up to be seen as somebody who's out there working. Because here's another thing, right, is that just because you do stuff for free doesn't mean to say that people know that you're doing stuff for free. Anybody, a new client, could easily look up and go, oh man, he's done like 6 sessions in like 2 months there, and it's like 6 releases and stuff. They don't know what's for free. Yeah, you're offering blah, 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 saying, yeah, so you get a free new release of your new Scottish artist and stuff like that. But, you know what I mean? That might be somebody that you've already worked for in the past, and that's a paid gig. They don't know that. What Nick is kind of drilling into us is just be seen to be working. But not just be seen to be working. Actually be working. You need to be working. Like, I'm not going to say who, but there is somebody who was in quite a big indie band, like when me and Ed were growing up, and he was a lead singer, and he's been watching my YouTube channel for a long time, and we've kind of ummed and ahed about the idea of working together. And again, he does songwriting camps, and he works for labels as well, and works with artists, and does a lot of songwriting. And I was like, know what? Fuck it. I just like DM'd him, and I was like, right, I want to work with you, but let's make this happen. I'll do 5 or 6 free mixes for you, right? Whatever you've got coming up next, I'll do 5 or 6 free mixes and masters. And if after those 5 or 6 free mixes and masters, you're like, you know what, Paul, your quality is really up top there, and I've been not having any issues, everything's been running smoothly, translation's working really well, you're a pleasure to work with, then I know that will turn into paid gigs, because he still needs somebody to mix and master the songs. And he doesn't really want to be bunged down with mixing and mastering. He's kind of ummed and ahed about it, but he's like, that's not my forte. That's not what I want to be doing. And he did say to me, 6 months ago, Paul, I've got no bother paying you for your mixes. But then it got delayed, and again, he gets busy, I get busy. And I just took the bull by the horns and was like, know what, I want to work with you now. So we had a Zoom call, and he's I can't remember, he's doing a tour just now. And he's like, right, okay, I've got songs of my own that I want you to do. So I want you to do a mix of one of my own songs. And I've got a few artists that were, few label artists that I'm working with just now. I'm going to send you those. And he's like, what about turnaround? I was like, I will prioritise yours. I will ensure that I prioritise yours. I get them out, say 2 days. He's like, yeah, Paul, 2 days, what turnaround is absolutely fine for me. There's no rush. But even things like that, when I'm having a dead-on conversation, very blunt, being very clear that I want to work with you, not like in 6 months' time, in a year's time. I want to work with you now. Here's what I'm willing to do to show you that you should be working with me. And then at the end of it, hopefully it goes really, really well. And then that turns into a paid client. And that's just genuinely me taking the bull by the horns and, doing a few free, paid mixing and masters, which doesn't bother me because,
everybody says to me all the time, like Emra is always on at me all the time. Bro, what are you mixing this week? What are you mixing this week? Find a multi-track. What are you mixing this week? What are you mixing this week? And I have been struggling, like maybe the past 2 weeks, to find a few things to mix. And I'm not that I'm rusty, but I was in a good point where I had maybe 2 sessions on at a time. And I'm like, no, I need to, and this is what I'm looking forward to about these sessions, is that they're guaranteed mixes and masters. I'm going to have to record, produce, and mix and master these to a high quality. And the pressure's on me because I'm recording them in my studio. So again, all the quality is down to me. And I'm excited to do that. And I'm excited because it keeps me working. Because if you are not working, then you're not progressing and you're not getting better. So for me, if you have to do it for free just to keep you working, then again, that's beneficial as well. I don't think there's actually many things that aren't that beneficial for you if you think about it right. The only downside is, yeah, you're having to do stuff for free and you would rather be making money, but you've got to speculate to accumulate. That's how I see it.
And if you can afford to do so, great.
And I can just now, so I'm quite
right.
And that's quite a benefit.
Well, that's why I still do live sound, because it's too lucrative not to do it.
Yep.
But I mean, it's technically that is mixing. You know, since we were having this chat today, I felt like I'd lost momentum with entertaining moving studios, and what I realised I was doing then was distracting myself with a big project that's taken longer because I've tried to document it on YouTube. It's a learning opportunity, and I've set myself a deadline to get all of it done, everything moved over and everything set up, whilst having the following week coming as a test period to get Studio One going as well, get a template in that running, so Paul and I can work on this dual mixing idea as well, and iron out any problems in the room. I test the tolerance of neighbours if there's a problem, because I swear for 6 months I didn't hear anything from the next door flat. In the last week, I swear I've been hearing things in the next door flat.
Right, okay.
Which is a little bit of a concern, but headphones to the rescue, and speakers are going to be low level, few hours a day, whatever. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a problem. If it is, I'll deal with it. But ultimately, that's all been a distraction, and I felt like I was losing momentum. I did some live recording mixes for a project, and I haven't done any specific song mixes for a couple of weeks, but I have been mixing every week live. It's slightly different, and I feel like I'm such a better live engineer now that I've really got into mastering and mixing in the studio. I do stuff so much quicker, and everyone's like, oh, it sounds good. And I'm like, yeah. And I work away, and I work away, and I work away. And everyone's like, bro, it sounds amazing. I'm like, yeah, it's all right for the venue. Never happy.
But you got to keep working, isn't it? I think that's what, again, this is all about, is even if it's for free, it's just to keep you working. And the more you're working and the more you're seen to be working, then people will pick up the phone. Tradesmen's is a very good example of it. So see in Errol, right, where I live, you've got the same electrical firm, and he's got 6 vans. So he bought every single one of his guys a van. And everywhere, anytime you're in Errol, you'll always see these vans parked, you'll see them driving past. And all I see is these vans going, and I don't know even who the Sparky is, but all I know is they're in the van. They could be driving, going the shopping, could be doing whatever. But because I see it driving and it's got his name on the side of it, in my head, I just go, wow, that firm's really super busy. And again, they might not, I know they are busy, but the perception's right that anytime I see them, it's always I always see that van every place. And again, it's when I was in Tops Tiles and stuff, it was, you always knew who was busy, because again, you get customers coming in, and again, you'd see them in the van, you'd see them in the shop buying stuff. You know what I mean? Even if they weren't busy, they would be in the shop. They would be like, right, okay, you got any people you could pass me on? Here's some cards to put in. And honestly, I'd have tilers that would come in, and sometimes come in just to be there for an hour and see if they could snoop customers. So if somebody was buying from us, they'd just sit there at the counter and they'd be like, oh, you got a tiler for this job? Blah, I quite like those tiles. I fitted them and blah, blah, blah. And even tilers and tradesmen, they have that mentality. And I remember there was a guy called Gordon Patterson. I loved him. And he would do that sometimes where he'd be like, oh, I can do a few jobs at the end of this day. I had a big job that just finished. And you'd watch him and he'd just sit there having a wee blather. And every time, it didn't matter if you had fitted it, he would go, Yeah, I fitted, that's a lovely colour. I fitted the grey ones of those in a house up and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like 60 square metre kitchen, whatever it was. He's like, yeah, beautiful tiles. Oh,
60 square metre kitchen. Fuck me.
fuck knows, right? No, but there is, because
It's the
honestly,
size of your village, isn't it?
oh, mate, we used to get some pure massive jobs, right? But just for example, right? He'd go grandioso, right? And he'd be like, yeah, I fitted that big job. And then what that person goes, they go, so you're a tiler. I'm needing tiler. And you fitted those tiles. And you fitted quite a big job as well. Automatically, if he then proposes himself to them to say like, yeah, if you know what, Paul, I've got my card in there, eh? Yeah, there's Gordon's card for you. They'd be like, yeah, I'll give you a call. And most times he'd have a very, very, very good chance of getting the job. So, even just like investing a bit of time just to put yourself in the shop window is sometimes all you need to make yourself busy. And I think, I find it funny when you do find some people that have got like zero investment, right? They've got no time investment. They've got like no investment in their studio, no financial investment. They're mixing on fucking Yamaha HS7s in an untreated room with bare dynamics and a shitty headphone amp, and they don't even understand, like how to monitor properly. And they do a few YouTube videos and they're like, yeah, I'm a producer, I'm a mix engineer. And they're like, yeah, but I want to be paid. Yeah, but I want to be paid for my time. Yeah, I'm 200 quid. Yeah, I think that's reasonable for where I'm starting out. And I'm like, you shouldn't be charging anything. You should be learning your chops right now. Like, you should not be charging people. And I think there's a lot, and me and Ed were in a position for a long time where through the journey of this podcast, I mean, we were able to get to a point where we genuinely felt that we could justify our price and be able to put ourselves in a place where we could say, yes, I am a good mix engineer. I'm a good, again, for you, Ed, again, you took time to learn how to do mastering. My mastering isn't my mixing. I want my mixing to be my master as a transfer. But we've got to a point where we don't have any qualms about saying to somebody, yeah, fuck, that's going to be a really big project. Like, it could be like fucking 75, 80 tracks, live drums, all acoustic stuff. You're like, yeah, okay, that's going to be a £500 mix. I don't have an issue, like, again, charging somebody and saying, look, that whole project from start to finish, the way you want to do it, that's going to be £1,000. That's going to be £1,000 to do. You need all the production, all the recording, the mixing, mastering, Atmos. Song's going to be £1,000. That's the price, and I value my time. But it took us a long time to get to that. And I think that there's sometimes, what I find humorous is that there are people out there that haven't done the investment that we've done and kind of turn up their nose at a free project, where the amount of people that we've had on this podcast that are big, big, big mixing engineers, sometimes Grammy-winning engineers, are like, yeah, I did a free gig there, did a free gig there, did a free gig there. I had seen a lot of potential in this one artist I really wanted to work with. Offered them like, an EP for free, and then that I got all the work past that. I think, that for us, we're in a beneficial place where we can take those risks. And I get it, it's difficult for people that in an economic climate like this, it's hard to do free stuff. But look, as I said, you've got to speculate to accumulate. And there's a reason if you think about college and university, you're not getting paid, but you kind of are, right? You can get bursaries and stuff. But if you see that 4 years I had in education, that was me doing work for fuck all. I had to turn up every day. I had to pay petrol to get there. I had to work every day, and I wasn't getting paid.
Wasn't that learning? Wasn't that like?
But then that's how you need to see it. So for all these people that are like, £200, I think that's decent. That's decent. £200 a mix, I think that's decent. It's like, yeah, I'm worth that. It's like, I think, because I'm just starting out and I've got my speakers, and I've got
and they will attract the clients who think they're getting a good mix off that, and maybe they are. This all blurs into one, and ultimately ends up in one's confident in what they can charge. Hey there, Ed here. You may recognise my voice from doing all the other DistroKid advert segments. This time I didn't want to just do a typical advert talking about stuff to do with DistroKid. I actually wanted to give you my feedback about the service, because I genuinely do use DistroKid for uploading my music. And I know Paul does, and it turns out Dan Worrell does as well. I've used DistroKid since 2019. As you can see on the screen, I have 6 releases so far. It is genuinely super easy to use. The tracks get into Spotify within 24 hours, which is remarkable. Apple Music takes a little bit longer. I'd suggest giving that 10 to 14 days. The hyperfollow links are really useful for advanced promotion of your tracks. And the promo cards are really great visual aids for social media promotion. Ooh, I particularly like that one. DistroKid collect all the royalties from your streaming services. And here you can find an itemized breakdown of where all your income has come from. There's also a DistroKid referral where you can save your friends $10 per sign-up by creating your own VIP referral link. Now, I wonder, taken away from this conversation, if there's something we can do, either individually on our channels, and this is an idea I've been toying with on mine, or with the dual mixing business that we're going to set up on the podcast, whether we can leverage YouTube platform to offer some kind of free mix in exchange, like in conjunction with a competition, or there must be a lead we can generate through our collective channels, do you know what I mean?
I was thinking that. I was like, should we maybe think about doing spec mixing at the start of our, combined business idea? But I do strongly believe that the unique, selling point of having not one but two, relatively now experienced, mix and mastering engineers, for me, I'm like, that's worth the payment. I don't really think that we should need to do a free mix to convince people that. But maybe labels,
it's literally
maybe
the same
labels,
as where we are individually, because we both feel like we shouldn't have to do a free mix to justify our ability. But what it could do, especially if we launched a whole, behind the scenes, and I don't necessarily want to go into a breakdown of how we break up the job roles, because I think that we need to create some mystery around that. I think people are going to figure out what each one of us are doing, but there'll be some overlap where people will be like, oh, who did that? Which I think we should keep. But maybe offering to someone in the audience when we feel ready, bear in mind we'll have definitely done some practice runs of this at that point. When we feel ready to launch the business, the first thing we do is reach out to one of our loyal podcast followers and say, hey, we want one of your tracks, reach out, but we're going to milk it for content. That's the deal. You give us a song to fully mix and master, but give us permission to use it however we want on the channel to promote the business.
I don't know. I'm a bit 50-50 about that, because in my head, I'm thinking about doing work for people that are going to turn into paid gigs. I get what you're on about, but I think maybe the best thing to do would be to maybe use this podcast as a platform for producers and other people and artists that we would maybe want to work with, to say, look, we've got a podcast that you can get exposure from, and the way that we would like to do it is to get you on. We have spoken about this in the past, that we've never really done it. Well, we kind of have. We actually kind of have done it in the past, where, look, we'll get you on the podcast. You can get exposure from the podcast, but the caveat to that is you have to give us, a multi-track. We'll mix and master it. You can, give us the feedback, and we can kind of document the process. So, of me and Ed doing a combined mix, and, that whole thing, and blah, 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 blah. Then I think that way it could work, because we are looking at people who can possibly turn into future clients. And I think that works a little bit better for me.
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you what, people listening, please leave your comments on that. Let us know what you think. Let us know what opportunities you're working on at the moment, and if there's anything that we've spoken about that inspires an idea. Do you feel like that's a good place to end the conversation?
I would absolutely say so. I think what's good about videos like this is you can see our brainstorming. Because again, like, we are in the process of trying to make this work, which is what many of you watching are trying to do as well. So it's good to have these brainstorming conversations, because at the end of the day, nothing is set in stone. Me and Ed don't know what's going to work. You don't know what's going to work. But you've got to look at the future, and you've got to kind of throw things at the wall and see if they stick. So yeah, good episode for me, Ed. Good episode.
I enjoyed that, and I've definitely got something to take away this week and work on for my business. Which is going to be reaching out about songwriting camps. And I might even learn a little bit about songwriting, which won't be a bad thing either.
Totally.
Might even find myself a songwriting partner.
Even better.
Working on that, in other words.
Yep.
But on that bombshell, let's leave it there. In the description below, there is a link to Nicholas's emailing list. Check that out. Definitely subscribe. I get it every week or every few days whenever he puts out an email. And without fail, there is something in that email that inspires me to think differently or do something for my own business. Nick is a very intelligent thinker, very methodical and very logical, and he just breaks things down into kind of bite-sized chunks of information to absorb and, more importantly, implement into your own business development. Check out that link in the description below. Thanks to DistroKid, and for you guys listening. It's been emotional.
Bye-bye.